Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman from Hawaii, Jill Tokuda. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate it. I know you're from Hawaii, far from the border, but you do speak with immigration activists statewide, we understand, and you have said that immigrants need to be educated on what their rights are if authorities do come knocking on their door. So, curious, what are you hearing from them about Trump's immigration and border policies? What are people saying at this point that you're talking to?
Well, I was actually just out in Kona yesterday.
Hmm.
It was the scene of where literally a 7-year-old boy was taken from his elementary school. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of concern. And one of the big things that they're saying right now is it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent in the way that they are literally trolling for information for undocumented migrants, the way they're approaching them literally at homes or in their schools or their workplaces. There's a lot of fear right now throughout the community, whether it's these individuals themselves, the people that work with them, that employ them, that live in the same neighborhoods as in their schools with these individuals. And so there's a lot of fear and concern right now. And there's a desire to understand and know their rights. And also for many to understand how they can stand and bear witness to what is happening in our communities.
Right. And it's important to note, I mean, it's very rare that we get a chance to talk to somebody in your state. So we really appreciate that perspective so we can understand it better. I want to move on now to the high stakes elections in Florida and Wisconsin on Tuesday, because Elon Musk is rallying voters in Wisconsin. So we're taking a very close look at this. What do you think we could see happening in those races? What is your read on this right now?
I am obviously hopefully optimistic that that we could take one of these seats. But even if we come close, I think that is a mandate. That is a sign. That is a message to all Republicans out there that it's only been 3 months into this administration, and already you're starting to see significant loss of ground in terms of Republican strength and stronghold over these traditionally, in some places historically, as we have seen, red districts. And so if this is what 3 months look like, what will 2026 present? Again, I think for Democrats, this is a huge opportunity for us to show that in no way was the 2024 election of the president a mandate by America to implement the kind of cuts, changes, freezes, firings that we have seen just in these first few months.
When you say 3 months, it feels longer than that, doesn't it?
It's longer.
It does feel longer at this point. And that makes a very good point. All right. So with the judicial overreach and constitutional limits on federal court hearings, that's set for this week, what are Democrats doing to keep Trump's administration in check? We've talked a lot about how Democrats need to rally together for their party. What are you hearing?
Well, obviously, we are making sure that we exercise every tool in our toolbox, including making sure that we exercise the right to be able to litigate against these egregious cuts, the executive orders, these overreaches, these threats to the judiciary that we are seeing. So we are mobilizing on every particular front. We're telling our people to make sure that they are out there, they are loud, they're in every single congressional district and state across the country saying that this is unacceptable. There is a balance of powers that is core to our democracy, and we need to be able to maintain this. It's not just about this Trump presidency. It's the precedent that it sets for every single presidency to go forward. It's about our ability to truly operate as the three co-equal branches of government that we are.
I got to ask you about the Signal chat leak heard around the world. Trump is saying no one is going to get fired with this. So I'm curious what you thought of when you first heard about it, number one. Number two, who do Democrats want to be held accountable? And how concerned are you about the security implications? Because we have talked about the safety of our troops. We've talked about Israeli forces and officials being upset that some of the information that they helped us with was leaked. And then is that going to burn them again? What's your take on all that?
First of all, I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. If you do something as egregious as this, you should be fired. You should be resigning. You should be voluntarily resigning because you have completely abdicated your duties as whether it is the the Secretary of Defense, whether you're the DNI, whether you're a national security advisor. This calls not just for investigation, but resignations. And we have to start very much at the top. Secretary Hegseth out there going through the Indo-Pacific, talking to our allies, what kind of confidence does he bring to that table when they're looking at the fact that he's basically discussing war plans over Signal? Not only just discussing it, but including individuals who should never be a part of that thread. I don't care how much you say this will never happen again. The outcome was okay. This is a sign of clear incompetence. And this incompetence jeopardizes American lives and our national security. This cannot be allowed to just go under the rug, quietly go away. This demands absolute resignations in addition to the investigations that we have been calling for as Democrats.
And you've seen the pushback, right? And Hegseth was in Hawaii when this news broke. You're in Hawaii, so what was that like there? Can you tell us?
I mean, it was hypocrisy. He got off the plane and he said that never happened. And yet, literally, the administration had admitted it, in fact, had. Get your story straight, people. What it shows is incompetence. What it shows our allies across the country, what it tells our service members is that he is not fit to lead. And if he continues to lead, he is going to put our service members' lives in jeopardy. We cannot have that happen. We ask them to sacrifice so much. They should not be at the whims of incompetent leaders like himself and Waltz.
Well, look, Tulsi Gabbard was in that chat as well. I mean, and when we look at the people who were on that list and in that chat, one of the big questions has been, you know, didn't somebody say, hey, who is this number? I mean, we've all been in a group chat ourselves, one way or the other. And sometimes when you see a number, you're like, I don't recognize that number. Maybe we should stop right here before we continue. Has there been chatter about that?
Absolutely. First of all, she should have been saying, as the, director of national intelligence, should we be doing this in the first place on Signal? We know some of them were not even on American soil when they were texting. I think there's still questions about what devices they were using, whether they're using their public phones or their personal phones. And all they're saying is that's being investigated, that's being looked at. The very first question is, why did she think it was appropriate to have these kinds of conversation with this much detail, literally hours before attacks, on Signal? The fact that she thought this was permissible, let alone didn't look to see who actually was on the thread, 18 individuals, a number of people she probably didn't know personally, potentially, or was that far up the chain, that should have been grounds for her to say, this is not right. We shouldn't be doing this. Again, that also speaks to the incompetence and the lack of knowledge and skill.
Well, last question, if you could do it quick for me with your answer. Do you think this is finally going to be an issue, not finally, but will it be an issue that will bring Democrats together on this message? You know, is this something that they can get together on?
We have to. We have to come together because this is jeopardizing American lives and putting us all at risk.
All right, Democratic Congresswoman from Hawaii, Jill Tokuda, thank you very much for joining us today. Hope to have you back on the program. Appreciate your time. And